Hey, Robin. Well, at least there's two of us here. Hey, I just Googled, was Shanann Watts an abuser? And it's interesting how many different posts come up. Here's one. It says meaww.com. Chris Watts was in an abusive marriage with Shanann. Let's see what this one says. I just clicked on it. Okay, it says Chris Watts was in an abusive marriage with Shanann, who often humiliated him, claims Chris Watts, Confessions of a Killer. I'll make it a little bit bigger. It says just days before Christopher Watts was sentenced to life in prison for murdering his pregnant wife and two daughters, his parents claimed he was actually the one being abused in the relationship. Interesting. Here's a Reddit thread. It says, do you think that Shanann was abusive toward Chris? Let's see what they're saying on Reddit. Let's see here. Here's one answer. It says 100% yes. She was also a hypochondriac, embezzler, and neglectful mother. She was an all around just awful woman in person. Doesn't mean she deserved to be murdered, but she was not a nice or honest person. Wow. Another response says, in ways, I think she was probably very manipulative and controlling. Here's an interesting comment. It says, I know we can't believe a word that comes out of Chris's mouth, but do you believe she didn't fight back as he was strangling her? I think her body would have gone through that uncontrollable act of fighting and going into survival mode. I agree with that. I think he's lying about what happened. I really do. I think he is lying about what happened. And you got to remember, we were told we're never going to know the truth, which tells me that we've been getting lied to. And I don't think Christopher Watts is the only one who's been lying. Here's a good one. Who was the real narcissist, Shanann Watts or Chris? I'm going to Google, was Shanann Watts abusing Bella and Cece? Let's see what comes up. Oh, here's an interesting one on Reddit. It says, question about Bella and Celeste's illnesses. Ooh. Let's see what that one says. Question about Bella and Celeste's illnesses. At the risk of this being a very unpopular thread, I really want to know if there's any medical proof that those girls suffered from all the medical maladies I keep hearing about. Now, please don't attack me just because I am questioning this. It's a legitimate question, which does not equate to anyone suggesting she deserved to be killed. I'm listening to Chris's coworker, Anthony, right now on YouTube, and he stated that they once actually took up a collection at Anadarko to buy the girls pillows because they were so simultaneously sick. I am thoroughly perplexed by this, and my thoughts are starting to wonder if Shanann had a mild form of Munchausen by proxy. I'll interject here. I don't think it was a mild form at all. I think it was a full-blown, obvious case of medical abuse. The comment continues, quote, I ask this because coupled with the girl's continuous failing health, who by all outward appearances looked pretty healthy, Shanann no doubt craved attention. There's nothing wrong with that, especially if you're a salesperson making your living on social media. Does anyone actually think she was ever making a living at all? Ever? Anytime in her lifetime? Seriously? The comment continues, but is it possible the kid's health was a way to garner attention and be a reason to keep Chris and Shanann together? You know, fighting for a common cause sort of thing. Some of their friends, coworkers, actually had to unfriend Chris and or Shanann on Facebook due to her incessant amount of postings every day. Many were so, whatever, I cleaned the house today, that it caused some to either hide their pages or unfriend them. I only mention this because to me, who is a whole generation older than Shanann, it seems like she was starved for attention and wanted feedback or perhaps praise. I disagree with that. I don't think she was starved for attention or wanted feedback. I think she was mentally ill. And I think her behavior on social media was an obvious symptom of severe mental illness. The comment continues, quote, so my question is there any tangible proof the girls were as physically sick as she claimed? And then there's the lupus, which I have too, so I don't begrudge or doubt she had it. I'll interrupt here. I doubt she had it. The comment continues, however, she made it a point to let the world know something that really didn't need to be shared. Let's see how people replied to that question. Here's the first one. It says, I'm so glad to have stumbled on this post. I began learning about this case this weekend. I was aware of it, but not following it prior. And after watching every police and FBI interview available, as well as many compilations of Watts family social media posts, I Googled, quote, Shannon Watts Munchausen by proxy. There were no pertinent results, but here you are thinking along the same lines. I'll interject. There were actually plenty of posts, but for some reason, they kept getting attacked. The reply continues, what really struck me was the number of times almost all of the interviewees referenced health issues. Like even a peripheral guy at Chris's work, not a friend otherwise, when asked if Chris ever spoke of his family, immediately jumped to, quote, well, like if he had to go to the hospital because a kid was sick or something. Then the friend from Hawaii had spent 2 months taking care of Shannon when she was ill. And I thought, wow, his family has a lot of health drama that even acquaintances are able to detail. And that tree nut allergy thing, it was like every relative, friend, Facebook connection, coworker, or MLM person knew the talking points by heart. That's a really interesting point because I noticed that with those interviews. Why on earth did all of those people repeat pretty much exactly the same words? The comment continues, so at the very least, it seemed to me the Watts family vibe or public presentation of their children was inextricably intertwined with a need to be seen as doting parents of sick kids. That this was almost a foundational identity. Or maybe she was just severely mentally ill and it was kind of obvious from her posts. Let's see here. Oh, it's talking about other stuff, about what order people were killed in. This one's, of course, there's one posted to blame the girlfriend. Of course, got to keep that false narrative alive. Okay, let's see here. Here's part of a comment. It says, anyhow, all I can say is that despite many people who are discussing this case finding her to be such a wonderful mother, I don't think there are that many people who are discussing this case who have found her to be such a wonderful mother. I think there are a lot of fake profiles who are posting comments, but, just saying. The comment continues, I myself thought, holy crap, her children are props in her How I Overcame Adversity and Learned to Thrive show and tell. And it looked exhausting and overstimulating and confusing for the kids. And I think it would have always been necessary for them to be a little bit sick. Yeah, kind of like part of the freak show. Part of the freak show. Another person says, I'm not alone in this. Here's the guy who hosted the kid's birthday that Sunday saying stuff some other people only hinted at. And then they post the link to the interview with their friend Jeremy, who said that he did not believe that Christopher Watts' wife's health challenges were physical. And I agree. This one says her kids had deadly allergies, like carrying around EpiPens every day. The comment actually said, I don't see anything to suggest a Munchausen thing going on. Her kids had deadly allergies. Yeah, maybe the fact that they were all healthy at the time of their deaths. I don't know. So, how many lies did Christopher Watts' wife tell? Oh, and somebody points out the obvious. Carrying around EpiPens isn't proof. Oh, that's so true. Here's one. SW was at minimum a hypochondriac. She supposedly had lupus, diabetes, fibromyalgia, migraines, gluten allergy, but they ordered pizza all the time and she made cookies and cannolis. Morning sickness seemed to start up at will, like when CW got to North Carolina. Exactly. Plus, she doctor shopped, at least back when she and CW were dating. Oh, and don't forget, CW had cancer, and SW saved his life. The comment continues, I don't think Bella looks well. Something is seriously wrong with her hair, and she looks thin. Also, she was still sucking her thumb, needed her security blanket, and looked stressed or nervous in nearly all the videos. That is such an important point right there. It continues, SW was always giving them meds and Benadryl to fall asleep, along with Thrive rest. It's kind of hard to believe both Bella and Cece needed their adenoids out at the same time. That is so glaringly obvious, I would think, to most people. It continues, it's bizarre. Their whole life seems unusual. Living with other people, their parents living with them, their spending and debt, their illnesses, moving across the country, MLM taking over their lives, Facebook obsession, drama with the in-laws, the affair, unwanted but planned pregnancy, question mark, question mark, question mark. Yeah. Here's another comment. All these medical maladies became their life and their focus. That can only create a negative and uptight atmosphere instead of positive. Or maybe mental illness created a bunch of fake medical maladies. Just saying. Here's an interesting part of a comment. It says she seems to have had a large and supportive circle of close friends who were all very involved in one another's lives. She wasn't isolated and she didn't isolate her kids. I'm thinking baloney with that comment. A large and supportive circle of close friends, really? Or did she have a bunch of MLM acquaintances? Some of the people who said they were best friends and good friends and close friends, one of them admitted she hadn't even met her. I think, but one time, I think she saw her one time for a very short time, for just a few minutes. But she was right there to say she was a close friend of hers. And remember, wasn't it her best friend who had no clue how old she was? No clue. I don't know. She's in her 20s or 30s. Yeah, I think she's in her 20s. Yeah, she's in her 20s. No, she wasn't. We're told she was 34. I think she looked 40. Yeah, I don't think so. And she wasn't isolated and didn't isolate her kids. Are you kidding me? Her kids were stuffed in bed at 6:30 at night. According to Cindy Watts, after they were given their nightly dose of Tylenol and Benadryl, and then expected to stay in their beds behind locked doors for 12 hours straight. They weren't isolated. I would say that's isolating the children big time. She wasn't isolated, really? Yes, she was. She was absolutely isolated. You know, people say, oh, she traveled all the time. No, she didn't. Oh, she was working? Really? I think she stayed in her room. And I don't think we're talking about the master bedroom either. I think her room was a tiny little room on the main floor. And I think that's where they kept her. I do. Just my opinion. All right. We have three of us now. Hey, Ray. Are you up with the babies? Oh, four of us. Yeah. I think Munchausen is absolutely obvious. And I think it's so sad that with all the discussions out there that there isn't a heavy duty focus on what poor little Bella and Cece suffered through. Their autopsies said they were healthy. Healthy. Surely their autopsies would have picked up on one or more of their medical maladies, right? Nope, they were healthy. So was Shanann. Let's not do that. Let's go ahead and call her real name. And so was Shannon. Shannon was healthy, according to her autopsy. You know, the autopsy that said that she had a blood alcohol content of 0.128, which in most states will get you arrested. They were healthy. Their autopsies said so. So why is this false narrative still out there? Why aren't people speaking out? Why aren't the people who took up that collection for new pillows for the kids speaking out? Why aren't people connecting the dots and saying, what? The autopsies said they were healthy? Wait a minute. Didn't she claim she had lupus for 8 years straight? I'm no medical expert, but I'm thinking if she had lupus at all, let alone for 8 years straight, and you know, they don't just catch lupus and get diagnosed in a day or two. Usually, people who have lupus have been experiencing health issues for a few years before they're diagnosed. And her autopsy said she was healthy? So does that tell you that maybe she was lying? Do you like that emphasis on the word lying? The autopsy said that Bella and Cece were both healthy. So does that mean that Shannon was lying about Bella and Cece's, health challenges? Hey, Susie. Oh, I know it. I know I've been MIA, haven't I? I've been busy. A good busy, so that's a good thing. I woke up early. I was going to upload some more videos to Patreon. I'm making videos with other cases and uploading them. I'm going to do a couple this morning for the case of Christopher Watts, though I haven't done a Christopher Watts video for a few days. I did do one the other day, but it was so long that I can't get the sucker uploaded. So I'm going to do a couple of shorter ones. Oh, poor Ray. Poor Ray's been watching Banana. Yes, a good busy is good. Oh, no, Susie. No, I'm not making any on that case. That is such a ridiculous, what do you call it? I don't know. Cluster. I guess cluster is a good word for it. Oh, it looks like Susie has been joining you, Ray. Has Banana said anything interesting lately? I did watch a couple of that bus driver's videos. His fiance did the Robert Durst trial. I thought that was interesting. And I saw she just posted the O.J. Simpson trial too. And sure enough, as soon as I saw it, I clicked on it and I started listening to Marcia Clark's closing argument. I got about 20 minutes in and I'm like, oh, I better not do this. Like, I have too much to take care of right now. I can't get hooked on the OJ closing arguments right now. Oh, good. Wait a minute. The banana was on the recliner? I thought they were like totally against each other. It's kind of like a game of duck, duck, goose, isn't it? They run around in circles and pick different people all the time. Oh, they were arguing. Okay. Yeah, that's what I thought. I didn't think the two of them were buds. Right. Supposedly, keyword, Ray. Keyword, supposedly. I think everything, all of it is scripted. I know that sounds, over the top, but I've said it from the start. Their crap is scripted. Nobody could be misspelling the same words over and over again. I think they have a handful of crappy writers. Oh, good. Susie's going to start a channel and start sad fishing. That'll be good, Susie. Do you want to post a link to a PayPal or something? Oh, I should put my banner up. Hold on. I've got a banner. Okay. There's the banner. And again, Ray, the word apparently, keyword. I think a lot of times, a lot of those posts in all of them, not just one particular channel, but I think a lot of it's just a bunch of bullshit. I think they post fake whatever they're called, super chats, in order to try to get the few people in there who are actually real people to think that they've got to pay for YouTube. Ray says, we could argue. I'll do one. The BV. What's the BV? Stumpy thumbs. You know what? You guys should. Ray, you should start a channel. Susie, you could start a channel. I'll write some poorly written scripts for you guys, and I'll misspell a few words and stuff and give you big words that you don't know how to pronounce. Like, I'll have to look them up. We'll find some really big words. Because notice how all the fakers, heck, let's call them what they are, the scumbag attackers, notice how they use words that they don't know how to pronounce. Well, guess what? People don't do that. They only do that when they're trying to read a poorly written script. Susie said, if I had a channel, I would be banned within a day. But we could get you guys arguing with each other. And then you could do like, oh, I hear a knock on the door. Oh, there's a knock on the door. Oh, I bet Ray called the police on me. And then Susie could say, oh, look it. I have 10 cars in my driveway. They're all here. I bet that Ray called the police. And then, talk for an hour about it. And then somebody like me comes along and says, wait a minute. If you had 10 cars in your front yard when that knock came on your door, why didn't your dog bark? That whole thing about what do they call it, swatting or whatever, I think all that's all just an act too. Exactly. And quite frankly, I don't think they're doing any of that. I don't. Yes, Ray, you could do the truth about Susie, and then Susie could do the truth about you. And if you guys have a hard time coming up with anything really juicy, then you just make it up as you go. Like I said, I'll write some poorly written scripts for you guys. I'll be sure to misspell all the words. We could say, did you hear that Susie abused animals and then she abandoned her children? Yes, Susie, you'd have to put in the time. And don't worry, because there'll be a lot of fake super chats there to make you think you're going to make money one day. Or maybe you could just do it for the fun of it because you want to pretend like you're a star. Maybe that would be it. And then maybe you could, I don't know, pretend like you just had a long conversation with one of the family members. That'll get you some extra Jake. And then you guys could be friends for like 2 days and say how you are against online bullying after you've spent a couple weeks bullying each other. And be sure to talk about your sobriety too, because that matters. Ooh, Ray is organizing attorneys. Ooh, do you need some money, Ray? Do you need like tens of thousands of dollars? And then 6 months from now, you can do it again. And then 6 months from then, you can do it again. About every 6 months, you can just do it again. Ooh, Ray is texting from jail. Well, maybe we should do a video call, Ray, and we could leak it on this channel. Well, and then you could run a GoFundMe to try to get Susie put in jail, right? And then we could do video chats with both of you. Because we know that they always let prisoners hop right on the computer and do video chats, right? And that those are easy to get your hands on and leak them to a YouTuber, right? There you go, Ray. Ray's got her iPad, and Susie's ready with the coded messages. Oh, I love it, Susie. Perfect. Prisoner Cell Block H, live from Scotland. And you can have a drink in your hand, too, and nobody will be bright enough to figure out that it might be like a fake screen behind you, right? Well, I think we should start the effort right here and now. I think we should start a big collection so that we can put Ray and Susie both in jail, right? Wink, wink. And we all know that you have to get a collection in order to put someone in jail. That's how that works. Or so we're told on YouTube. And I just want you both to know you're hurting my feelings. You don't know the hell that I go through because of your hurtful comments, you trolls. There. Okay, now send me your money so I can get you arrested. Because you're bullies. That's what you are. YouTube just has to do something because you guys are bullies. Which brings us back to the title on this video. What about Bella and Cece? Why is it we're the only ones who seem to care at all about what poor little Bella and Cece went through? Susie says, I don't need the money. A man looks after me. I have a cleaner and do jack shit. Oh, I won't tell you guys who, and I won't tell you what case, obviously, because then you would guess who. But there's a case that I wrote a book about. It's a really interesting case, a very interesting case. There's a case that I did a book about a couple years ago, a year ago or so. I don't know when. About a year ago, I guess. One of the relatives of the victim in that case contacted me. She bought the book, she read it, and she emailed me. And she sent me just the sweetest email telling me how much she appreciated me basically cutting through the bullshit and telling it like it was about that case. Well, she and I have just like hit it off. She's a hoot. She is a hoot. And I knew just by watching her trial testimony that I totally respected her before she and I even started talking. The other day we were talking, she comes up with the funniest little one-liners. And she said, men. How did she say it? Let me think. I always ruin the punchline. She said, men. You can't live without them, and you can't eat for free. How did she say it? Men. You can't live with them, and you can't eat for free without them. I thought that was cute. I never heard that one before. You can't live with them, and you can't eat for free without them. There you go. So it looks like Susie has found the answer. You are an MM friend, Ray. Ray says, I'm so jealousy. Yes, I think they were victims of both parents, Robin, meaning Bella and Cece. I agree. I'm going to put Susie's comment up there. That is so funny. So you guys want to talk about current events? Let's see what's current. I mean current events with the case of Christopher Watts. Let's see what's current. So I'll go to YouTube and I'll click in Chris Watts. Enter. Now let's see what's up. Let's hit today. Chris Watts, crime scene photos. Really? This is interesting. You click in Chris Watts and guess what case comes up? Yeah. The new one. Here's one 10 hours ago, the Chris Watts case. Interesting. Keep in mind, the search that I put in was Chris Watts, and here's one for another case. So they're evidently tagging Chris Watts as they upload their crap. Interesting. Here's another one on that new case. So what do you guys think? Do you think that the same people who were basically recruited, hired, whatever they were, to try to control the narrative on the case of Christopher Watts, do you think they're also actively engaged with the case of the people who were supposedly living in a van for a few months? Elena says, why would she say that? Didn't she have a job? Why would who say what? The men, you can't live with them, you can't eat for free without them? Is that what you're talking about, Elena? If that's what you're talking about, then I should explain that, oh, okay. That actually, before the women's lib thing, men always paid for dinner. Like, it was never a question. Women did not pay for dinner. Men paid for dinner. Like, it's how it was. So the whole eat for free without them is a throwback to back in the day. Robin says both cases had controlling partners, which ended in tragedy. You're talking about the new weird one? So wait a minute. Do you think that Brian was a controlling partner? Or do you think that his girlfriend was a controlling partner? That's cute. Elena says, oh, thumbs up. Yeah, back in the day, if a man was out at the restaurant and the woman was like pushy about wanting to pay, they used to call it go Dutch, right? You go Dutch if you each pay your own. And men didn't like that. Men didn't want women paying. Men were like offended. It was recently, but it was a throwback to that time frame. And actually, men my age don't want women paying. It's like it's their manhood or whatever. I mean, they just don't. Seriously. Anyone I would say in their mid 50s or older, they expect to pay for dinner. Ray says, I wish more men were offended. And then she said, I love free food. Well, just my opinion, I don't think women's lib helped women at all. Not at all. I think it is good to know how to change the tire if you need to put your spare tire on. It's good for you to know how to do that, but I don't see any reason why on earth you should ever have to do that, if you know what I'm saying. I don't think women were created by God to be pumping gas, changing tires, that kind of thing. I just don't. Robin says, I never burned my bra. Good for you, Robin. Good for you. I'll tell you something else. I have never seen or heard of or known or belonged to any union that could have gotten me any better deal, as in salary and benefits, than I could have done on my own. I think we've been dealing with a smokescreen for decades. So that little walk through YouTube to see what's new with the Chris Watts case, that was pretty uneventful. Isn't that interesting that when the new case came along, poof, the scumbag attackers jumped right on, didn't they? Which I'm glad they did, actually. That's a good thing, in a way, except for the other case, because look at what's happening already. They're demonizing one half and glorifying the other. Did you guys see where one of the channel creators went right to the house and was yelling? That was interesting. Oh, yeah, Robin. How about Harry and Meghan? I hear they got into a little tiff. Did you hear about their tiff? And then, did you see the video of the social media weirdos who were yelling and screaming outside his sister's house? I thought that was pretty interesting. They're like, you need to change your strategy. And the husband of the sister said, we don't have a strategy. I thought, wow. I think Kate's dress probably, absolutely, was more than Harry's wife could handle. Yes, Ray. Evidently, they got into a tiff. I think when they were in New York City, they got into some sort of tiff, and somebody told. I doubt if it was a big deal. It was probably just Harry standing there going, "Yes, dear. Yes, dear. Whatever you say, dear." Well, that whole thing about standing outside, Ray says that Banana said it was disgusting. All of them. Anybody. Did you see the first few days of it where they had children there? Children holding up signs, posters, while their parents were yelling hysterically at the air. Why didn't the police arrest those yahoos for disorderly? And why is it so cool for them to be hating on anybody's parents? How ridiculous. You know what I think happened? I think when that case hit the news, I think the scumbag attackers got to work, quote unquote, work. I think they started contacting the family members, both sides, and they started saying, "Ooh, I can help you. Ooh, I can help you on social media. It's going to get rough out there. Ooh, ooh." And then I think they set to start creating a bunch of BS so then they could point at it and go, "Oh, look at that. They're saying bad things. You need us. You need my help," right? I think that's exactly what they do. I think anytime they see a case hitting the headlines, they think, "Oh, yeah, maybe this will be a good moneymaker." Do you guys remember Kelsey Barrett's mom? She went right public and she said, "Stop it," because they were contacting her. And she said, "Stop it. You leave me alone and you leave my daughter's case alone." And guess what? They did. And they went on to their next little target, I guess, right? Robin says the Time magazine cover says it all. Wasn't that weird? That was so strange. The way he was kind of like standing behind her looking scared. And come on, what was it, the top 100 most influential or something? Yeah. Ray says that she's going to take off and go eat. She'll be back. Robin says the Anthony case all over again. And that was another time. They shouldn't have allowed those people to be in their front yard like that. Remember that day that Cindy had, I think she had a hammer in her hand? That was pretty good. Grace is here. She said, "Hi, Lady J." Hello, friends in chat. Hope everyone is well. Well, here's some current event discussion for you guys. Totally not about the case at all or about Harry and Harry's wife. Think about this. If social media is controlled already with the narratives being spun, then do you think it's possible that the scumbag attackers are actually, I don't want to say the word allowed, but even encouraged to use platforms like Facebook and YouTube to like keep the fight going or something? Think about it. Over on Reddit, They don't have people getting attacked as far as I know. Or they don't have threads getting removed or profiles being banned or any of that crap, right? Over on BitChute, they don't allow any of the crap that the scumbag attackers were trying to pull. On WordPress, they don't allow it. There are many social media platforms that do not allow the scumbag attackers to pull what they pull. I think the breeding ground for all of the hate and discontent has actually been because two platforms, just two, Facebook and YouTube, have been, in my opinion, encouraging the illegal acts that the scumbag attackers have been committing against innocent people who they target in what appears to be their pretty lame attempt to control the narrative on different cases. And I'm speaking specifically about true crime. Pixie says, finally, I caught alive. Hey, Pixie. Robin says, drama makes money. There you go, right there. Drama makes money. Send me your money. Give me your money. We need more money. We're fighting with this one. We're fighting with that one. Boo-hoo. Did you hear what she said? Do you know? Oh my, she's this, she's that, whatever, right? And how many of those channels are even talking about any case? One of the channels who prides herself on being a true crime channel pretty much isn't. And I shouldn't say just one of them, I would say all of them. But they sit up there and say things that you think, what? You don't even know this case. Do you know there is one channel, the bus driver guy? They got caught up into all the BS. Like they were right in the thick of it. And now they're actually a true crime channel. They got out of that mess. And now they are actually presenting a true crime channel. And I'm telling you, it's a good true crime channel too. I hope they steer clear of any more of the drama. I really do. Like, I hope they refuse to engage. Because they're really good. They're a good combo when they talk about true crime cases. They do a really good job. Drama and hatred, yes. And the money part of it is so weird too. The weird part is, do you guys really think they're getting that much money? Because they're not. It's all BS. I think they might. I think they want to pretend that they are. I think they get their little payment, but I think they're probably making about $100 total each time they go live. I think they're moving money around. And I think a lot of them are total failures in real life who view themselves as being some sort of a comedian or some sort of an actor or some sort of a musician or even a journalist. And they get hooked up with these weird gangs of people. And they think that's the only way they can, one day become some sort of star. They also are promoting this fallacy that these people are public figures. They're not public figures. Being a YouTuber does not make you a public figure. Just like Taking a few videos, making a few videos and putting them online does not make you some sort of a influencer. You know, you're not an influencer simply because you put a few videos up online. You know, I think it's pretty common when people go on disability for them to say they're retired. Have you ever seen that before? Where people say, "Oh, yeah, I'm retired." And you think, "Really? You're retired at age 30? Okay. So is that what you call disability now? Oh, I'm retired." Well, I think kind of the new word is I'm an influencer. Really? No, you're a YouTuber who probably wanted to be a musician or something and you didn't make it. So you're kind of getting off on the attention that you think you're getting, even though by hanging with the wrong crowd, you're going to fail again. Just my opinion. I'm going to search again because there was a Reddit thread. Where is it? Okay, here's Reddit. I'm going to search for something else here. Oops. My screen's. Huh? Oh, it wants me to sign in. Hold on. Okay, I'm going to go back to Google. Let's see here. Let's see what we've got here on Reddit. Oh, this is interesting. It looks like they have raised the money that they were asking for. This just popped up. It says, and this was a couple weeks ago even. Interesting. Here's a comment I'll read for you. Posted 5 days ago on Reddit. The heading is This comment from Shannon has always gotten under my skin. Quote, I try to give you space, but while you are working and living the bachelor life, I am carrying our third and fighting with our two kids daily. She's fighting with the two kids daily? Why is she fighting with the two kids daily? And she says, and trying to work and make money, end quote. Yeah, right. I don't believe that for 1 second. I don't think she made any money at all in her adult life, at all. The comment says, first of all, the term manipulation comes to mind. You decided to go on vacation for 5 weeks without your husband. I'll interrupt this to say, I don't think she decided. I don't think she had a choice. The comment continues, you left him knowing you're carrying your third, having to be alone with two kids and selling Thrive for a living. And again, I don't think she made a penny. The comment reads, that isn't his fault, it's yours. Don't leave your husband for a month and cry about being alone. Good point. Here's an interesting one, posted 3 days ago. Who was Shannon's upline? I wonder how that person feels knowing the amount of debt the family was in. That's a good point. $253 comments. Oops. My screen just flipped. I'm not sure what. It's blank right now. It'll take a second, I guess. Or maybe it's just blank. Let's go back arrow. Okay, view entire discussion. There it is. Okay. It says, I felt horrible for them, but they're begging for money after all they've already made on the backs of their murdered family makes me sick. You don't see the Watts all over social media trying to shut down any channels that say NK was involved, but they have no problem with the ones that say Shannon murdered her own babies. What are they hiding that is connected to NK? Ooh, interesting. This one says, but they say prayers for everyone. Here's a comment. Hey, she made $500,000 per year. Here's an interesting one. Here's a comment that says, I'll donate $5,000 myself if they'll release the paternity results for Cece and Nico, showing that Chris Watts was actually their father. Number 1, Cece looks just like the other Chris. Number 2, the DA gave the paternity results to the R's, but refuses to this day to give those results to the Watts. Number 3, when Ronnie Watts asked the DA who was Nico's father, he said Chris. Ronnie said that he said Chris who? And the DA just said Chris again. And then it goes on and on about the paternity. Interesting. Here's a comment talking about whether or not AD is going to do some crowdfunding in order to fight in court. The comment reads, I don't care about his channel or videos, but I know he's never said anything bad about SW or her family. Here's an interesting one. It says, where are these people who are harassing their family? I haven't read anything about people blatantly saying Shannon deserved getting murdered. I've never read anybody posting any comments or saying, I've never heard anybody say that anybody deserved to get murdered. That was just such BS right from the start. over and over again. She didn't deserve to be murdered. Well, whoever said she did. I mean, and I'm sorry, but there are a lot of people who don't even go along with the official narrative on what actually happened that night. What a ridiculous statement, right? Here's a comment posted that says, I just had some Shiner on YouTube accuse me of saying that Shannon deserved to be murdered. Meanwhile, nowhere in my posting did I ever mention or say anything, blah, blah, blah. Those Shiners are really psychos. Do they have a girl crush on Scammon or something? Or I should say Scam Ann or something? Never thought about that. You know, we're always being told how we're in love with Christopher Watts, right? Anytime we say, wow, we think it's possible that poor little Bella and Cece were being medically abused by their mother, then it's like, you're in love with Christopher Watts. Well, maybe we should start saying to the Shiners, do you have a girl crush? Robin says, I'm still figuring out how they knew it was a boy. Do you really think they knew it was a boy? Elena says, I wonder why she didn't return the product she didn't sell instead of having it in the basement. Because I think that was how she got her bonus, was by buying. I think that if truth be told, hey, Ms. Badskirt. Ms. Badskirt says, good morning, MMN chat. What a nice surprise. I think if truth be told, I think she might have been her own downline. I think she was her own downfall. Well, what if she was her own downline too? What if she had that stack of credit cards that we're told she had? What if she didn't really have a budding business at all? What if she simply, had the delusion going that if she bought more, she would make more? Back in the day when they first started with the lottery tickets, I'm talking way back in the day, because lottery tickets were not a thing back before you guys were born. Well, when they first started them, in fact, to make it possible for them to be able to sell lottery tickets, part of the requirements, I think people voted on the issue actually, and part of the requirements were that retailers would never promote lottery tickets. They would be available, but that retailers were not allowed to promote them. For example, cashiers were not allowed to say, would you like to buy a lottery ticket today? That was how it got voted in that states would be able to take part in the lottery ticket, should I say scam or system? I don't know. But back when lottery tickets first hit the scene, there were people who were actually buying a lot of them, thinking that they were increasing their chances of becoming a millionaire overnight. Intelligent, hardworking people thinking that, if you buy one, then you have one chance out of how many million. But if you buy two, you're doubling your chances. And if you buy four, whoa, look at there. If you buy 10, pretty soon, if you buy 100. Maybe Shannon Watts was that gullible or delusional, or maybe just ignorant, or maybe she just didn't care, or maybe she was that delusional to believe that she was going to hit it big. She told her father-in-law that she was 35th from the top, 35, 35th from the top. Does anyone believe that for 1 second? I highly doubt she was even in the top 350,000 people or in the top 3.5 million people. I highly doubt she was in the top of any way to say it with any of the MLMs she signed up for. I highly doubt she ever made 1 penny of profit from any of the MLMs she signed up for. I think she was on disability. And I think that she was experiencing some days where she would stay in bed all day, probably for a few days in a row or more. And I think she experienced other days where she would pretty much not be able to sleep. And she'd be up for days on end. I don't think she had lupus. I don't think she had fibromyalgia. I don't think she had celiac disease. I don't think she had any kind of fertility issues. I don't think she had any physical health challenges. I think she was a mental. And I think Bella and Cece should have been removed from that home. Well, probably at birth. Elena, if you understand the framework for the MLMs, people don't sell products from their basement. If they actually do sign somebody up, that person is actually purchasing their products online. If somebody was a straight out customer saying, hey, will you be my supplier for any particular MLM line of products? Then that would mean that she would have to take their order and then spend money on delivery, right? Or run around town delivering it herself. I highly doubt she ever sold any products at all. And in fact, I highly doubt she ever signed people up. I think she was signing herself up. Why did she have an email in the name of Veronica Horn? Who was Veronica Horn? Why were we told by a retailer who waited on her? This is what the retailer claims, that when she went to pay for her purchase at the store, that she had a handful of credit cards, and evidently a few of them were maxed out because it took quite a few of them before she was able to complete her purchase. Robin says SW had a monthly quota of product to buy to keep the car and the lifestyle getaways. It doesn't matter what she sold. Let's break that down. Let's unpack that comment. SW had a monthly quota of product to buy in order to keep the car. Keep the car? The car was a leased vehicle in Christopher Watt's name. What we're being told is that if she sold so much, then she might get some sort of bonus check that they could apply toward the car payment. If she sold whatever level, then she might get $300. If she sold whatever other level, she might get 600 or 700 or 800. I highly doubt she ever got a penny for that car. I think she told Chris that they were going to go to the dealership and get her free car, and I think he was doofus enough to sign the paperwork. And I think he was the one paying for that car from day one. And the comment continues, and the lifestyle getaways. You know, we're told over and over again, and then we hear it so many times that we begin to think it's true, I guess, that she was always vacationing. Was she? Was she really always vacationing? Or was she talking a lot about vacationing? Because, you know, that business trip that she was on, it was sales training. And that lifestyle getaway, whoop-de-doo. I wonder how much that cost her. Or I shouldn't say cost her. I wonder how much that cost Christopher Watts. So isn't that special that a couple files bankruptcy and walks away from over $70,000 in unsecured debt? In July, I think they filed it in June of 2015, and everything was discharged in August of 2015. And in July of 2015, isn't it interesting that she signed a quitclaim deed to remove her name from the house? Isn't that interesting? In the middle of a bankruptcy? They filed for bankruptcy in June of 2015. The quitclaim deed was dated July of 2015. The bankruptcy was discharged, including student loans, which is unheard of, in August of 2015. And right in the middle of a bankruptcy, she's signing a quitclaim deed to take her name off the house? You know what that tells me? That tells me that that debt was probably all hers. It also tells me that that's a no-no. When you're pleading with a court to let you walk away from over 70 grand in debt, you're probably not supposed to take your name off of something. You know what I'm saying? Maybe that's why the quitclaim deed suddenly disappeared. I don't know. It just seems too weird. It just seems weird. I don't think she sold anything. I don't think she had any budding business. I don't think she ever made $500,000 a year. In fact, I don't think she ever made 50 grand a year. I don't think she ever made 20 grand a year. I don't. I think she was on disability from the time she was a kid. And I think she was doing her damnedest to try to get Bella and Cece on disability too. I think she had a stack of credit cards a mile high. I think she was mentally ill. And I think that she was pretty much holed up at home while her husband was at work and the kids were at daycare. I think she had an assortment of caregivers who would try to keep an eye on her. And I think she probably drove a lot of people bonkers who had to deal with her on a regular basis. Do you know anybody as an adult who would be living with other adults or who would be having other adults move right in to live with them? Don't forget, she was listed as an endangered missing person. Don't forget that her mother told her friend to check the knives. I think Christopher Watts is lying about what happened. I think there are a lot of people who may know exactly what happened. And I think it's probably the case that we've been lied to right from the start. I think it's possible that when Christopher Watts went to work that morning, that everybody was alive. I think it's possible that he drove off and went to work without any clue that his life was about to be ruined. And I think it's possible that he's sitting in prison feeling absolutely guilty and ashamed. And still, to this day, I think he's sitting in prison trying to keep all of it a secret. He's probably devastated over the loss of his children and fully aware that if he were to tell everything that he knows, that it won't bring his children back. Don't get me wrong, Christopher Watts is no innocent. Christopher Watts didn't protect his children. Bella and Cece deserved to be safe in their own home. In my opinion, they deserved to be removed from their own home. The medical procedures, the claims of pretty much constant illness, the ridiculous claims regarding those illnesses. Oh, Bella's been sick for 15 days straight. Bella's been sick for 9 days straight. Bella's been sick for 5 days straight. Yeah, the girls were both in the emergency room last night, but I can't remember what the diagnosis was. One of them had some kind of pneumonia. The other one, can't remember. And then she said, she'll just have to get through it. She couldn't remember the diagnosis from the emergency room the night before. I guess if the child is so sick that they need to be taken to an emergency room, then probably her parents should be able to remember what the diagnosis was. Why weren't they taken from the home? Why weren't Bella and Cece removed from that home? Who dropped the ball? How many people dropped the ball? How many people looked the other way? I agree. I do agree. I think the county did drop the ball. I think law enforcement dropped the ball specific to what the children were experiencing in their own home. What about the MLMs? All of the friends from the MLMs. What about all the friends on social media? And I'm not trying to throw shade on Cindy Watts, but what about the family? Cindy thought it was very strange that her daughter-in-law was giving her grandchildren Tylenol and Benadryl every night at 6:30 p.m. And she said, like two little birdies, both children would tilt their little heads back and wait for the syringe of medication. Was everybody so afraid of her temper that they didn't dare to speak up and put a stop to the nonsense? Yes, Robin, the ongoing family matter. We were told by a family member that there were two hearings, in fact, scheduled for shortly after the tragedy occurred, and that one of them was for the unpaid HOA dues, right? The other one was for an ongoing family matter. What was going to happen at that hearing? Was she going to lose access, complete and total access to the children? Remember, she asked Chris, would you stay with me if we didn't have kids? Remember, she told her quote unquote friends that when she tried to talk to Chris about their relationship, that he said, I'm not going to lose the girls. So what was going to happen at that court hearing for the ongoing family matter? Was she going to have to move out? Were they finally going to take steps to say you cannot have any access to the children? Just imagine how her life would have changed if at that court hearing her parental rights were taken away. What happened? I don't know. Maybe, just maybe. Maybe the pregnancy story was a story. Or maybe the pregnancy story was going to be documented somehow along with further restrictions. I don't know. Maybe, just maybe, Bella started talking. I don't know. Do you remember those photos of poor little Cece with a big egg on her forehead, a big bruise, a big bump on her forehead, and then the photo of Shannon's hand with bruises, saying that she saved her or caught her or whatever. I think she said she saved her. Who knows? Maybe the reason she was in North Carolina to begin with was because they didn't have any money to pay for the daycare. And maybe they didn't have the legal option to not have the children in daycare. So maybe they were told that they had to make other arrangements. And maybe while they were staying in North Carolina, maybe the social workers who contacted the police asking for a callback, maybe they were doing spot checks at the home to make sure that Bella and Cece were safe. Robin, you just spoke exactly what I think happened. You just spoke it. Well, you posted it. Robin says, I wonder if the ongoing family matter gave SW motive. Does anyone really believe that she was peeved about any girlfriend? I don't. Do you remember that back in, I think it was March, that she was talking to a lawyer about divorce. Remember, way back in December, she stopped making the house payments. And in July, she told a young hairstylist that she was getting divorced and looking forward to being single again. I don't think she cared at all about any girlfriend. I think she cared about money. Money, money, money. I think she cared about pretending that she was something she wasn't. I think she was catching on that Christopher Watts was choosing his children over staying with her. I think she was catching on. And if you know anything at all about mental illness, the issue of abandonment is huge. If that court hearing was to strip her of her parental rights, then shame on whoever didn't take action first before the proceeding or before noticing the proceeding. If poor little Bella and Cece were subjects of a family plan, their needs, their rights, their right to be safe in their own home should have mattered a hell of a lot more than whether or not she was noticed up for any hearing. If those children were at any risk at all, and I'm here to tell you, if you take a look at her Facebook crap and you can honestly say to me that you don't think that the kids were at risk, then society has a problem. Children in our society are in danger if people can see her crap that she posted and not think that those poor children were at risk. Bella was trying to take her own rectal temperature with a toy. She posted a video saying that she gave the girls lots of Tylenol. She talked about going to the post office and supposedly leaving the girls alone. Personally, I don't think the girls were even home. I think they were in daycare. If you can look at all of those little details and take a look at the Santa Claus video, take a look at the Watering Eyes video. If you can honestly look at those videos and go, oh, she was such a great mom, then you're part of the problem. Robin's comment, in my opinion, nailed it. I think that she knew about the upcoming hearing for, quote, an ongoing family matter. I think she either knew or she suspected or she was worried about having to move out. I think that marriage was over long before she flew along with her dad and the kids to North Carolina. I think the only reason they planned that little family vacay when Christopher Watts joined her was because I think he had to fly with her back to Colorado. because I don't think the children were able to safely be with her alone. The autopsies said, the autopsy reports said that Christopher Watt's wife and Bella and Cece were healthy. Oh, one thing I wanted to say about that with the lifestyle getaways. I don't think she traveled as much as we're being told over and over again. I think she barely traveled at all. How many times since they moved to Colorado did she travel back to North Carolina? How many times in the last 3 years since Cece was born did she travel to North Carolina? The answer is 0. I'm sorry, but going to some MLM sales training weekend or some MLM convention or some MLM gala, whatever, some MLM dress up party, some MLM fake concert, some MLM motivational weekend. If you're truly going on a really cool vacation with your husband, don't you want to just be able to afford to go on a really cool vacation with your husband? Instead of spending the entire time with a bunch of MLMers? Like, can you imagine? Think about it. I wonder what they do when they all get together. I wonder if they all try to kind of up each other, one up each other. Ooh, I signed up 5 people. Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm busy right now on my phone signing up more people. Yeah. Yeah, I have 3 in the hopper. Yeah. They probably tried to sign up each other. They probably got kind of confused about it. But obviously, if you're successful and you want to go on a vacation with your husband, you're probably not hanging out with the same yahoos that you're competing with, actually, in a way, and doing nothing but talking about your products. No matter how much you think your products are gold. I don't think she traveled as much as we're being told. I don't think she made any money. I don't think she had any of the illnesses or diseases that she claimed. I don't think the kids had any allergies. I don't think the kids had asthma. I think it's possible she may have found someone to diagnose them with asthma, but it would make me question what the triggers were. I think the children were born healthy, and I think their mother made them physically sick. I think she was on disability, and I think she was doing her damnedest to try to get them on disability too. And I think she got caught. Finally. And I think right before the tragedy happened, that she was of the belief that she was going to have to move out of the house. I think she knew damn well that Christopher Watts would have gotten along just fine financially without her. I think that's why she was missing house payments, not paying the HOA dues, strapping them into a ridiculous lease payment on a car. Robin, yes, she said drastic measures, evidently. In a support group for survivors of spousal abuse or domestic violence. Drastic measures would need to be taken for her to be with the one she truly loved, or that she truly belonged with, I think is what it was. Anne says they were sleep trained. How freaking sad. I don't even think they were sleep trained. I think they were drugged. I don't think they had one-on-one time with their mother. I think they had other people living in the home. I think they lived with other people. I think they had the kids in daycare. I think there were all sorts of times where other people were actually taking care of the kids. I don't think the kids were sleep trained at all. I think she probably found a support group on Facebook where people were talking about sleep training, and she decided that she was going to claim that too. I read something interesting the other day. It said that she did a GoFundMe for somebody who lost a baby to SIDS. Right around the same time that she was posting photos of Bella and Cece sleeping with their faces covered with blankets and pillows. So what was that about? Could it be that she had mental illness to the degree that she was literally pretty much being babysat by sitting on social media? And could it be that while she was sitting on social media, that she would click on some new support group and read up all about whatever the condition, illness, tragedy, whatever experience was, the focus of any given support group? And could it be that she would then comment as if she was one of them? Was she struggling perhaps to find any identity for herself? That she would latch on to whatever shiny little gem she was noticing on social media? Could it be that somebody was actually supposed to be keeping a closer eye on her? And they figured that since she was just, hanging out on Facebook, that she was fine? Could it be that the real deep, dark secret about their life, the family life before the tragedy, was that she was actually so mentally ill that she was barely functioning? Could it be that whoever was supposed to be keeping a close eye on her was not keeping a close eye on her at all? Why was she in Indianapolis for a month or a month and a half in the spring of 2016? Checking out at the hospital daily. The student loans are a clue, in my opinion. Student loans are not forgiven for a 34-year-old who is claiming to be making a bunch of money. However, if in fact the court is of the opinion that the person who owes the student loan will never, capital N, be able to pay it back, then and only then do they consider including it in a bankruptcy. However, if there is any possibility that the person who owes the money on a student loan is able to actually pay it back at any point, over the next however many decades of their life, then that student loan sits there. Exactly, Robin. I think SW said a lot of things. And my hunch is she probably read a comment on social media where somebody said that their children crawled into bed with them. And she decided to say the same thing. Do you guys remember the people who hopped up on our panel a year ago or more? I don't know. Claiming that they were in Facebook groups before the tragedy that Shannon had joined. And we were told that she would harass the other members of the groups. We were told that she was warned by the admins to stop it. We were told that she would say that the products, whatever product she was trying to push at the time, would somehow help them with whatever the disease was of the day. We were told by one man that he and his wife had to change their phone numbers because she refused to stop harassing them. Now hop on over to this topic. Christopher Watts missed work how many times because the kids were sick? What? Why would he have to miss any work at all because the kids were sick? Could it be he had to miss work because his wife was sick? And I don't mean lupus, you guys. Why would he have had to have taken any time off at all for any doctor appointment or any illness? Why? Well, maybe because he was the one taking care of the kids. Or maybe he actually had to take time off because maybe his wife was having a bad stretch of days. And that's a good point, Robin. They're locked in their bedrooms for 12 hours straight, right? So how could it be that they would be, supposedly crawling into bed with mommy and daddy? I don't think so. In fact, I don't think mommy and daddy were in the same bed for years. I think daddy had the master bedroom, and I think mommy had the little room on the main floor. And I don't think the girls were the only ones with locks on their bedroom doors. So why, with all of the evidence that was posted on social media, why weren't Bella and Cece removed from that home? In what world is it acceptable to be giving two small children lots of Tylenol? Could it be that there were social workers in North Carolina who were maybe a little more proactive about protecting the girls? Could it be that they filled out reports for the court requesting that the children be removed? Could it be that they filled out reports that included some disturbing information? Could it be that she told a caseworker in North Carolina that her mother-in-law had razor blades laying all over her house, and that a social worker may have thought, okay, this is sounding over the top lunatic. Robin says not sure about her having the room on the main floor. That was her office space, blah, blah, blah. However, she did a video saying, I'm in my bedroom. And then she immediately said, I'm in my office. And when I saw that video, I thought, this is odd. Very odd. I think there was a bed in there. And I think she was very careful not to show it on her videos. I think the room was cluttered because I think her mind was cluttered. I think Christopher Watts was the one who wanted everything in its place. And I think Christopher Watts actually was the one who kept the house clean and organized. I don't want to be sexist or anything, but you know, a bachelor pad looks different than a regular house, right? That looked more like a bachelor plaid. That looked more like a bachelor pad than it did a regular house. I think her room was on the main floor. I think that's where she spent the majority of her time. How many videos did you see of the kids enjoying a big dinner at the dining room table? How many videos did you see of any evidence that she was connected to the children? Yep, Christopher Watts told law enforcement that she cooked dinner for the kids. And then he said that it was usually pizza or noodles. Have you ever taught kids how to cook? What is it that kids like to cook when they're 10, 11, 12 years old. They like to cook pizza and they like to cook noodles. I think Christopher Watt's wife was mentally ill, and I think her mental illness was probably diagnosed when she was 10 or 11 or 12 years old. I don't think she ever moved beyond the pizza and noodles maturity level. I think it's interesting too, Robin, that prime rib was purchased in the same month that she was encouraging others to buy a bunch of wine. I think it was buy 6 bottles, get 36 bottles in return or something ridiculous. In the same month that she stopped making the house payments. I don't think she knew how to cook. Do you remember when she had that notebook that was given to her, evidently, family recipes and all that? It looked like a notebook, like a school notebook. And she called the recipes directions. I don't think she knew how to cook. Yes, Pixie, she knew how to peel an egg. She made a video about it. Susie says, Rachel, that rumor is not true and beyond disgusting. Bella loved her daddy and SW hated it. Anne says, did Chris abuse the kids? This is the first I've heard of this. Well, the first I heard of it was about a year ago when one of the known scumbags, the one who called my house in the middle of the night a year ago, 3 times, using a robo app, she had some guest on her channel and they were talking about him sexually abusing the girls. I don't believe it for 1 second. Not 1 second. I think it's total bullshit. But I think when you have a mother who is fixated on taking the rectal temperature of children, then you might want to ask that question of the mother, quite frankly. As you guys know, I've spoken with Cindy Watts at length for hours and hours and hours. And I'm here to tell you, she loved her son, she loved her daughter-in-law, and she loved her grandchildren. And there's no way in hell that Christopher Watts grew up in any kind of abusive home environment. There's no way in hell. Did you know that Cindy always worked full time? She actually worked. She had a job. She kept her house clean. She fed her children well. Cindy and Ronnie took good care of their kids. They didn't ship them off. They didn't threaten divorce. They didn't fight with their kids. They both had good jobs. And they both went to work every day. And they both worked together to raise their children well. But look at how Cindy has been treated since day one. Why? And don't tell me that she's been treated poorly because of anything that she ever said. Because she didn't say a word until long after the attacks against her started. Yes, Robin. Remember, everybody seemed to think it was the most important thing to discuss with law enforcement when a woman was listed as an endangered missing person. And 2 children were listed as endangered missing persons. So it's, of course, very important to discuss the fact that Cindy didn't go to the wedding 5.5 years earlier than the disappearance of, the endangered missing woman. Well, Ronnie didn't go to the wedding. Jamie didn't go to the wedding. The flower girl and the ring bearer didn't go to the wedding. The cousin's wife didn't go to the wedding, because they were all fired from the bridal party. And many other family members did not go to the wedding. In fact, only 2 family members went, the grandmother and the relative who drove the grandmother. That's it, 2. But over and over again, we heard Cindy didn't go to the wedding. She didn't go to the wedding. She didn't go to the wedding. So what? Good for her. How many marriages was it already for Christopher Watts' wife? I mean, just because we saw the white dress, right? And I want to know, who didn't go to one of her previous weddings? Did she have one? Well, one that we're told. I don't know. But, okay, let's just say that one. Who didn't go to that wedding? I mean, if that's what matters when there's an endangered missing woman, then who didn't go to the first wedding? Who wasn't there? Why weren't they there? How could they? Another one that tickles me is when people say Christopher Watts didn't want his mother there. Is that how they translate that into scumbag attacker speak? Because the way I heard it, right away, Ronnie was hopping on a plane, right? Because his daughter-in-law was listed as an endangered missing person. Ronnie was ready to hop right on the plane, and so was Cindy. And her son said, "No, Mom, you stay home. Send Dad." But you know what the scumbag attackers have translated that to mean? Oh, well, he hated her. He didn't want her there. He told her not to come. Really? Maybe that was kind of like protective son, not wanting to worry his mom. Maybe it was protective son knowing that mom worked full time. She actually had a job. Maybe it was protective son not wanting to totally disrupt his sister's life at the time, considering how many hours his mom was available to his sister and his sister's children. You know, his mom has grandchildren in North Carolina. His mom has pets in North Carolina, right? Maybe that was a protective son saying, "No, Mom." Maybe what he really was saying, let's translate it. Maybe he was saying, "Thanks, Mom. Thanks, Mom, for offering. Thanks, Mom, but I don't want you to be so inconvenienced. I don't want you to be so disrupted. I know how busy you are." Instead, the scumbag attackers say, "Oh, he hated his mother. He didn't even want her there." That isn't at all what he said. And you know, another time that they translate into scumbag attacker speak is when Cindy's saying to him, "It'll be okay. No matter what happened, don't do anything to harm yourself." Okay? And how did they translate that? She thinks it's okay that her daughter-in-law is dead. No, I bet you she doesn't. I just bet you she doesn't. I bet you she was a very healthy, loving mother who at the time was concerned for her son's safety and for his overall well-being. And she was speaking as a loving, strong, healthy mother would speak to her son when she said, "It's okay. It doesn't matter. It's okay. We're here for you." She's supposed to be villainized because she told her son no matter what that they would always love him and be there for him? Really? Rachel says she didn't like SW and hasn't changed her mind just because she has passed. Wait a minute here. Do you have any clue how close Christopher Watt's wife was to her mother-in-law? Cindy treated Shannon just fine. She treated her well. And remember, when Shannon wanted to go on vacation, it was Cindy who she wanted to take care of Bella and Cece while they were gone. It is a fallacy that we've been spoon-fed for 3 years straight that Shannon and Cindy did not get along. They got along just fine for 5.5 years. There were 2 times that they didn't get along. Both times were after Shannon had gotten the hell out of North Carolina and she came back for a short visit. Both times all hell broke loose. Both times, Shannon treated Cindy like shit. Alex is asking who wouldn't have gone to the wedding. I wouldn't have gone to that wedding, Alex. Christy wouldn't have gone to that wedding either. Susie wouldn't have gone to that wedding. Alex, do you realize that Shannon fired the ring bearer and the flower girl, who were Cindy's grandchildren? Do you realize that Shannon fired Cindy's daughter from the bridal party? Do you realize that Shannon fired Cindy's nephew's wife from the bridal party? Alex says, I say family over everything. Oh, if you say family over everything, then maybe you would have said family over Bridezilla. Maybe you would have said family over Bridezilla, because Bridezilla fired her grandchildren, fired her daughter, and fired her nephew's wife. So you're going to say to your grandchildren who are in tears, or your daughter who is in tears, or your nephew's wife, all who had just been fired by Bridezilla, you're going to say, I'm going to choose to hang out with Bridezilla, even though she just treated all of you like total shit. I agree, Alex. Family over everything, including over Bridezilla. And if that son wants to go ahead and hook up with a Bridezilla and not stand up for family, right? He didn't stand up for his sister. He didn't stand up for his niece and nephew. He didn't stand up for his cousin's wife. He didn't stand up for his mother or his father. The person who didn't choose family over everything was Christopher Watts. Exactly. Who fires a flower girl? Exactly. Choose family over everything? Okay, well, what happens when one member of the family is hooking up with Bridezilla, who is verbally attacking and firing other members of the family? And remember the accusations, right? Cross-contaminating the food, sabotaging the invitation list. Alex, you're saying you would have supported your family. Then support the family. What about the daughter? What about the cousin's wife? What about the grandchildren? So take your virtue signaling and forget it. It's not working. I would have supported my family. Okay, then support your daughter, support your grandchildren. Because you would not have been supportive of your family if you had attended that wedding. You would have been turning your back on your family had you attended that wedding. And keep in mind, you guys, it's not like it was a first wedding, okay? It was a divorcee. We're told even who had kids before, who knows? Just because she chose to wear a ridiculous white dress, that's like, I think, I don't know if you guys were talking about this case 3 years ago, but people look at those pictures and go, oh, wow, you know, the big wedding. No, it wasn't a big wedding. It was not a big wedding. And when divorced people remarry, they usually don't try to pretend like it is their first wedding. Alex, this is ridiculous. Your virtue signaling is ridiculous because you're trying to make it sound like you're the only person in this entire discussion who would care about family. If you care about family, then okay, what do you say to your daughter? What do you say to your daughter who just got fired by Bridezilla? What do you say to your grandchildren who are crying because they were fired by Bridezilla? You know they already had all their dresses and tuxes and everything, right? You know they were already practicing how to walk down the aisle, right? What do you say to your grandchildren? Oh, honey, I'm sorry you got fired. I'm sorry that you don't get to be princess for the day. But Grammy's going to go ahead and go because sucks to be you. I'm going to go have fun while you sit here and cry. No, I don't think so. I think you're going to care more about your grandchildren than whatever flavor of the month your son has fallen for. Right? We're not talking about two people who were high school sweethearts or who met in college and had shared goals for a few years or many years or whatever, who then had their big, wonderful wedding, right? We're talking about a man in his, mid to late 20s who was marrying a divorcee who had already conned him into believing she had to move far away. And then when she popped back into town shortly before the wedding, she decided to make accusations against his mother and his sister, to be rude, to send nasty emails, according to Cindy Watts, to be absolutely offensive to the family members, and then to fire the bridal party. So there you go. If you're going to stick up for your family, then I think you'd be sticking up for your daughter and your grandchildren and your nephew's wife. And you'd be sticking up for yourself too. Cindy was getting treated like shit leading up to that wedding. Alex says that you go, let's see. Yeah, boo-hoo, you want to come or you're staying home. It's your brother's wedding. Can you suck it up? You think that his sister should have gone after being accused of sabotaging the guest list, after being fired from the bridal party, after the children are in tears because they were also fired, and you think she should go suck it up and go play pretty with Bridezilla? Wow. I think maybe brother should have joined his family. I don't think the problem was that Cindy didn't go to the wedding. I think the problem was that Christopher Watts did. I think he had every warning flag flying. Because like Cindy Watts told me, it was obvious that Shannon did not want his side of the family to be at the wedding. And then look at what happened in 2018. There was another family event planned. And once again, it was obvious to Cindy that Christopher Watts' wife did not want his side of the family to attend. That's the question to ask. Why was she evidently, according to Cindy, trying so hard to make sure that her own husband's family would not feel welcome to attend? Think about the warning flags. Did you know that I was told that Christopher Watts' then fiance told him that she needed $600 in order to get the wedding dress altered? Did you know his savings account was depleted? Did you know that there weren't 80 invitations according to Cindy Watts? There were 31. Did you know that I was told by somebody who attended that little pre-wedding party that there would not have been room at that venue for 80 people? Did you know there were no empty place settings? Did you know there were no empty chairs? Alex says we saw her previous house. Yeah, the one she got with less than 5% down payment and lost money on at the closing table that he was probably making the payments on. Was that supposed to impress him? Because we're told she quit her job 3 weeks after she met him, right? Yes, Robin, good point. Remember, CW was the one with friends, and he would include her, well, after they met, his girlfriend, okay, when she was his girlfriend, he would include her because he actually had an active social life with many friends, many of them lifelong friends since grade school. Have we seen any friends at all from his wife? And he would take her with him to his friends' homes or meeting them for dinner, and she would one by one insult them and insult their homes and insult their dishes. And then he would show up the next day and apologize for her bad behavior. Yeah, the warning flags were flying. Oh, I'm looking to see what George said. I just found it. George says a lot of people here supporting a quadruple murder find this disconcerting. Yeah, a lot of people here supporting a quadruple murder. George, you're a liar. Take your virtue signaling right out the door. Alex says, what I'm getting at is Chris knew he was marrying a woman who overspent. I think what Chris didn't know was he was marrying a woman who under earned, as in didn't earn. Remember, when he proposed to her, he was believing her lie that within 2 years she would have a 4-year nursing degree. Remember that? He believed her. He probably didn't really know until the closing table what little equity, if any, she was claiming to have in the house, right? Alex is assuming that he got her pregnant a third time. The way I heard it from his mother was that he was kind of curious how that could have happened. Alex is saying Chris chased her. You believe that? I don't believe that for a second. Alex says Chris chased her, didn't he? Wasn't Shannon already financially strapped when he got involved and asked her to marry and got her pregnant 3 times? This is Chris's fault. Can't blame SW for being her. Yes, you can blame SW for being her. If you are not paying the house payment 3 months in a row and not telling your husband that you're not paying the house payment 3 months in a row, where's the money going? Yeah, I think you can blame SW for being her. If you're claiming you have fertility issues, yet you get pregnant at the drop of a pin. If you claim you have lupus, if you claim you have fibro, if you tell your fiance that you're going to be an RN with a 4-year degree in just 2 years, and then poof, you tell your fiance that your doctor says you have to move to Colorado for all of your health challenges. Yeah, I think you can blame SW for being her. If you're filing a bankruptcy, but you keep spending, then yeah, I think you can blame SW for being her. She wasn't 12, she wasn't 14, she wasn't 16. She wasn't a 16-year-old kid with charge cards that she got by lying about her age. She was supposedly 34, and I think much older. She was plenty old enough to not be spending more than she ever was capable of earning. Yeah, I think you can blame SW for being her. George says, I'm not lying. He was convicted. He pled guilty. He confessed. You're lying when you say that we're supporting a quadruple murder. That was your lie. So don't play pansy here and try to pretend like you don't know what I meant. Yes, Rachel, you can tell by the videos that they were very close to their grandchildren, that their grandchildren felt very safe and loved with their Mimi and Papa. I think George is bored to be hanging out in a live chat where he obviously, or she, probably a she with a fake profile, who knows, obviously doesn't want to be, evidently. Maybe George is working right now. Alex says, I find it funny. People think I'm uneducated on this case. Been following since day one. I know the drama. I know the storylines. I've read the discovery and I'm very knowledgeable. That's good. Yes, Christy, George is annoying. Sorry, George, but it's true. Susie says, Alex, you've proved you're not. And says, do you think we know the truth? I think we know the truth. Susie, should we ask Alex a question? Okay, Alex, we'll ask you a question. Let's see. Tell us Cece's birthday, and you have to answer it really fast. We're going to count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, Alex, let's see. Oh, Alex says, I don't know those facts. Get real. I thought you were very knowledgeable about the case. That's a good one, Christy. Okay, Alex, ready? What was the name of the daycare? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Ding, 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 ding. Wrong. I don't think Alex is knowledgeable. He says, or she says, I am. I know what happened. I don't know a 4-year-old's date of birth. Well, if you were knowledgeable about the case, you would. That didn't take you long to Google, Alex. Good job. Yeah, Alex doesn't know diddle shit. We can tell. Dealing with you is not our first rodeo, Alex. Rachel says that doesn't mean you know all the truth. Reading something isn't always good knowledge. If you knew everything, there would be no need for questions. Truth comes from both sides of a story. Alex says, ask another. There's no need to, Alex. If you didn't know Cece's birthday, you don't know diddle shit. You're obviously part of the scumbag attacker pack, so whatever. Exactly, Susie. The horse has bucked. It's taken me a second here, you guys. There it is. Okay. There. The horse just bucked George and Alex both. They should run on over to the other case, the one that everyone's trying to make a quick buck on. Yeah, he, she, Elena. He, she. Because there's actually just a handful of people, mostly female. They like to use names like George and Alex. I think Cindy did the right thing when she chose to not go to the wedding. I think that her husband did the right thing when he chose not to go to the wedding, and I think every other Watts family member who chose not to go to that wedding did the right thing. I think the one who really effed up was Christopher Watts for going to that wedding. He had all the warning signals anybody would ever need, and he showed up anyway. But remember, she saved his life because she detected his cancer early. Oh, wait, he didn't know he had cancer. Yeah, talk about warning signals. Hokey Pete. Rachel thinks he snapped and then panicked and got help after. I don't think he snapped at all. I think it was even before his family didn't show up. I think it was when he watched his fiance treating his family like total dirt repeatedly that he should have caught a clue. Susie says CW is covering. He's riddled with guilt. The R's know the truth also. Mr. R in court was enough for me to know. Lilith Moon says their marriage was doomed from the start. Crystal Clear says you're right, MMYOUR. Those children should not have felt unsafe in their own home. Exactly. Why weren't Bella and Cece removed from that house long before the tragedy occurred? Is it okay to give your kids lots of Tylenol and to smile big about it on your video that you post online? Woohoo! Gave the kids lots of Tylenol. She said something about giving the kids their medicine, and for some odd reason, somebody asked her, what medicine did you give them? Why would anyone be asking her, what medicine did you give your children? That seems kind of interesting, all on its own. And then she answered, amoxicillin, prednisone, and lots of Tylenol. And those kids were still living in that home with her? Really? Lots of Tylenol? Rachel says everything was perfect on camera. Behind it was different. I don't think everything was perfect on camera at all. With the stuff about the Santa Claus video, with the stuff with that water in the face video, that stuff I thought was, I don't know, I thought it was kind of obvious. And then the photos of the kids sleeping with blankets and pillows over their faces. And then that one where little Bella was hungry and she said, oh, you want a laptop? What do we do when we want something? We put it on the vision board. And if you looked at her Facebook account right after the tragedy, it's really interesting to note that she didn't have very many likes at all. She didn't have very many people commenting at all. I think that social media was her babysitter. I really do. I think whoever was supposed to be keeping an eye on her figured she was fine sitting on social media. Yes, the pie in the face video too. That was very disturbing. Right, Robin. Why didn't she mention the neck, right? If you're going to go in for neck surgery, if you're seriously, honestly going to have neck surgery, you're talking about your neck beforehand. Well, she would have been because she talked about everything, right? Supposedly. Christy says because she didn't have neck surgery. That's my opinion, too. Crystal says, I couldn't handle the constant say hi, say hi. And Susie sums it up. Susie says she was a crackpot, plain and simple. She was troubled since her teen years. Her family, ooh. See, I don't blame the others, but the one comment that one Yahoo made that, you can't blame her for being her or whatever. Yeah, you can. People know if they need help. And If she wanted to go ahead and live whatever life she wanted to live, hallelujah. But there were 2 children there. There were 2 children there who deserved to be protected. It's like I titled the video, What About Bella and Cece? What about Bella and Cece? She had one video that she told Bella that she could have a piece or a bit or whatever of a brownie if she could pronounce the word correctly. Bella had said brownie. Brownie. And so on the video, she was withholding the brownie because she was evidently trying to shame Bella about Bella's speech. That tells me everything I need to know. Add that Santa Claus video. Add the water in the eyes video. Come on. Lots of Tylenol. Razor blades laying all over the house. Endangered missing person. What about that interview with the teacher? What did he call her? Nana Hannah or something weird? How many times did she use different names? And why? Crystal Clear says, I think she suffered from depression before she met CW. I think she suffered from a lot more than depression. I think that the depressive phase may have been part of what she suffered from. Susie says, yep, agree. And Christy says, way more. Okay, guys, guess what? 2 hours and 45 minutes is probably long enough for us to be chatting. Yes, Crystal. Hence the dark place she said she was. Exactly. I think that court hearing coming up was a court hearing that she did not plan on allowing it to happen. And keep in mind, the last time she saw her mother-in-law, she threatened her. And on this note, I'm going to go ahead and say, let's do this again in a few days. But keep in mind, the last time she saw her mother-in-law, when she suddenly went ballistic and went charging toward her mother-in-law down the hallway, accusing her of attempting to murder little Cece. She threatened her mother-in-law that the girls would never step foot in her mother-in-law's home again. And 1 month later, that threat became reality, right? 1 month later, poor little Bella and Cece were murdered in what should have been the safety of their own home. And in my opinion, Bella and Cece Watts should have been removed from that home at birth. Everybody have a great day. Have a great weekend. I'll try to hop on again this weekend, but I am pretty busy, you guys. I'm sorry. I am uploading to Patreon. I'll be uploading a couple of Christopher Watts videos today. And I'm also uploading videos on other cases too. So if any of you are bored silly and you want to hear some Mensa videos, then hop on Patreon if you want. If I don't gab with you over the weekend, then I'll try to do this like midweek next week. If I don't, it'll be next weekend. So everyone have a wonderful week until we chat again. Be healthy, be safe, and I want you to know that you are loved.